who I'm dying to have more time with. But this person's job for many years was to infiltrate what you call the global elites. What I would say to you, I no longer use that term for the most part, because this person taught me that they're not elite, they're a cult. That's what they are.
That's a good term.
They're a global cult. And why does that matter so much? Because it's accurate. It's about who they really are and what they really want, where they're taking us. They're not taking us to a world, of elites, right? They're taking us into the dark heart of a cult, where, what do you have? You have people whose one single most important defining objective is to eliminate and eradicate God. And I'm telling you, this is what this person who spent years, he had to read. Apparently they have all this works and teachings and literature and so on and so on. I mean, he spent 2.5 years just studying everything from the rituals to the traditions to the ideology and so on and so on and so on, in order to be able to successfully infiltrate them at the UN level, right? I can't tell you which faction he was part of. I don't want to give too much away. But because one of the things I asked him is, I said, I get it, but I don't get it. The children. You got to, I have such a problem with this. You got to explain this one to me. And he said, well, first of all, you're looking at it the wrong way. I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, they don't define children the way you do. They don't define the world the way you do. The choices that you face are not their choices, right? They look at it completely differently. And I said, well, okay, so how do they look at it? And he said, for them, everything is defined by their one fundamental, all-consuming purpose. I said, which is what? He said, to defeat God, right? Because this is the moment. I mean, for them, it's about the real God. The true gods are them and Satan, there, right? And so he said, children are the closest thing on earth to God, because we are created in the image of God. And as you know, from the moment we're created, we haven't had time to be corrupted and to stray. So for them, the younger you are, the closer you are to God, the more pain they can inflict on God. So the more you can make a baby or a small child suffer, the greater your victory over God. And that is the only consideration for them. Outside of that doesn't exist. I think it's really important for people to know that I think they're losing now. There are signs everywhere that they're losing. And there's one thing they have to have happen in order to prevail. It's the same with like Marxism, communism. There's lots of conditions and similarities that you can find in different countries that have become Marxist or communist. But there's only, as Victor Davis Hanson told me once, there's only one condition that has to exist for Marxism and communism to come into being. And he said, and that is for the middle class to be obliterated, because the middle class is the physical representation, the living definition of hope. Because if you're poor, you can hope to move up. If you're in the middle class, you can hope to improve your life more. You know, that's the absolute embodiment of hope. And what is hope? Hope is about the human spirit, right? It's about hope that lives eternal in your heart and in your mind, and that drives you to act. And if we believe that the battle is lost, and they're so overwhelming, and they're so powerful, and they're so all around us, and so on and so on and so on, what is that really about? It's about breaking your will to fight. They need you to surrender. They need you to give up hope, because there's too many of us. We outnumber them. And if we don't give up, if we don't submit, they have no chance. They just don't want us to know it. They want, that's why, you know, getting hold of the media, which is really the megaphone, right? That's what the Nazis did in Nazi Germany. They had to take over the media. They had to hide all those stories from you of all of the people, black, white, whatever they are, all over the world, who are standing up to tyranny, risking everything and fighting for their freedom and fighting for all of our freedom. They don't want you to know their names. They don't want you to hear their stories. They don't want you to see that people like me exist who really don't care what they write. I really don't care. And I'm not crazy. They don't want you to know that, because it's the, you know, then you will realize that I am one of literally hundreds of thousands, literally hundreds of thousands.